Hello there and welcome to my channel. So if I sound a little quiet, it is actually because it is super early in the morning and I'm trying to record this as soon as I possibly can to try and get this info to you all. So we finally have had the live letter that's going to talk about patch 5.2 and also a surprise patch 5.18, and so that's going to be a mini patch in between the time period of now and when 5.2 hits. So starting with the changes we're going to see in patch 5.18. which is going to come on Tuesday, December 24th, so happy Christmas Eve, I suppose. We are going to have the removal of the weekly restrictions from Eden's Gate and Eden's Gate Savage. We're going to have Deep Shadow Solvent, which is going to be purchasable using the manufactured coins that you can get from the Near Raid. We're also going to have Season 14 of the Feast to begin, and then we're also going to see a revert to the butt nerf of the copied factory leggings, which used to enhance the butt, but now it's flat. That's actually a separate video that I've been working on in the background, but we're gonna go over the history of butts later, so look forward to it. The developers did, however, mention that there were going to be a few changes to the PvP actions taken on some characters, and in particular they were mentioning the ninja, and there were also a few issues that they had with the new PvP map on Seal Hacker. Basically kill points were being overemphasized instead of actually objectives, and so they are actually going to be nerfing the kill points that you get. So now with that done, let's talk about patch 5.2. The name of it is going to be called Echoes of a Fallen Star. Currently the expected release date is going to be in mid-February of 2020. As expected, there is going to be a new main scenario quest, and then there is going to be one new instance dungeon called Anamnesis Ender? Forgive me, I'm butchering it for sure, but the name is on the screen right now. And going forward, they have made the decision that they want to invest a lot of their development resources into, instead of providing more than one dungeon, instead they're going to want to explore new content. So I think that that's actually a good move, because let's be honest, a lot of us just run expert roulette and whatever dungeon we're given is what we do, and I'm curious to see where they're actually going to be putting these resources, and fingers crossed for some of the stuff that we're going to go over later. During this interview with the developers, however, they said that the developer code for this dungeon was the Asian's official residence. So I personally find that really cool, and I'm really actually happy that they are actually expanding on that universe. I have to say personally, that's actually one of the most interesting aspects of Shadowbringers for myself, and I'm really hoping that even further past this dungeon into the future that they continue to explore this area, because I just have so many unanswered questions. Right, next up we are actually seeing another beast tribe being added on top of the pixies. They are the Kitari, and they are going to have a focus on gathering classes, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'm cautiously pessimistic about it, but as someone who has had everything to 80, we're gonna really have to see. Following that, we have new Chronicles of a New Era quests, and if you aren't really familiar with what Chronicles of a New Era quests are, they're kind of like trial quests, which have been things like in Heaven's Ward we had the Sophia, we had the Zuvran, and then we had oh god, I keep forgetting his last, Sephiroth trial. And so that's kind of where we're at with this, but we are actually having a brand new trial added with a ruby, I actually mean ruby weapon, sorry, and then there's going to also be an extreme primal version of that. Personally, I am really excited to see what the mount looks like. I'm gonna lose so much time grinding this, aren't I? I just got the Hades one. So much for life. But in addition to that, the developers were hinting that there is actually going to be one more trial on top of that, but it is going to be kept a secret by them, because apparently like it is highly correlated to like 5.2 spoilers, so we'll really see. And so they have said that the first time that we're going to be able to see it is actually going to be in the patch notes for 5.2, so let's see. And then let's talk about Savage raiding. So we have entered the first phase of the Savage raiding content is complete with 5.2, and now we are moving on to the second phase of Savage raiding content, and so likewise we are probably going to be getting 4 new major fights, and then there has been a teaser here. And so likewise, if anyone remembers Final Fantasy X, at least I do, I saw this and I was I'm gonna be honest with you, I was triggered when I saw this, and because I remember as a kid just walking around this lightning field and just getting wrecked. So are things gonna really change when now I'm an adult? We'll see. And then actually with patch 5.2 we are finally seeing, they're calling it upgradeable equipment, and I'm assuming that that is their new way of referring to Relic Quest lines. And if you aren't familiar with what a Relic Quest line is, I'm actually gonna, or I have been working in the background on a video guide to how to complete them. So for each expansion, for Realm Reborn, Heaven's Ward, and Shadowbringers, we had some kind of method where we would like essentially build up a weapon over time and make it stronger and stronger and stronger as you continued through the patches. And it was also a very highly customizable weapon in most cases later on, where you could pick and choose what stats you wanted on it. And so with patch 5.2 we are now seeing that come in, which I'm super excited for because I am actually a huge massive sucker for this. If my glamours in my videos haven't shown it, I have done way too many relic weapons. But what is even cooler is that it's going to be around the Bozja Citadel, the home of the Hrothgar. And let's face it, I'm probably gonna live there. I pretty much accepted that. Now let's talk about job adjustments coming with 5.2. So the developers didn't go into much detail, but they did mention that the Red Mage was currently something that is definitely on their radar. And I want to take a little bit of a digression here and talk about the current state of the Red Mage. So bringing up FF logs, we're going to be looking specifically at Titan for patch 5.1 on the 75th percentile, and specifically on the statistics of damage. Oh my gosh, everyone is starting to figure out that I really like numbers. So let's look at the current top dog. That is going to be the Samurai as of the time of recording this at 14,278.04. And now let's look at the Red Mage. The Red Mage is the third lowest, and it is at 13,308.39. And then when I subtract the numbers, we get a difference of 969.65. Likewise, when we look at other classes, like specifically in the caster role, we have the Summoner, which is the second highest DPS at just a little under 100. Less than the Samurai itself, so we're just gonna say that it's gonna be roughly a 900 DPS difference. I know that I'm kind of pinching the numbers here, but just for ease of like demonstration. But I think probably a more concerning metric would be the Black Mage, which is significantly lower than even the Summoner. So the Black Mage, as of looking at this right now, is sitting at 13,857.71. And then we subtract the Red Mage's numbers from that, and then we arrive at a difference of 549.32 DPS. So I think that this comes to a point where I'm really interested that the developers are noting this as a key issue, because obviously when I look at these numbers, I'm like, the Red Mage isn't too far off. And I mean, if they're starting to consider the Red Mage too low, what happens to the Dancer or the Bard? Because they are even lower than the Red Mage. Actually, let's go over the numbers real quick. So taking the Red Mage's number of 13,308.39 and then subtracting 12,778.14, which is going to be the lowest, which is the range DPS, and we have a difference of 530.25, and that isn't that much of a difference versus the Black Mage versus the Red Mage in here. So is this potentially something that should be very concerning? Like, are we going to be looking at ranged DPS buffs? Personally, I hope if they do so, that they really focus on the raid DPS utility, because in terms of Dancer and Bard, I really want to take them because I want to enhance allies' damage. If I wanted more personal DPS, I'd choose the Machinist, but that is for a completely different video that I've been working on comparing the ranged DPS. I swear I'm going to try and push that out tomorrow. I'm going to try really hard. But yeah, ultimately, I'm just taking that they mentioned the Red Mage and gonna buff it. I'm really worried about this, because actually let's get a little bit deeper in this. Past the numbers, what does the Red Mage bring to the party? They bring Revive. They bring a spammable instant cast Revive that can undeniably save a run. And I'm at the point where I'm looking at these changes and I'm like, well, if the difference between a black mage and a red mage is made even smaller. It's already small. Don't tell me that 530 DPS is gonna make or break your group. And remember that this is playing like really optimally too. I mean, it's coming to the point where black mage is gonna start to become obsolete, and I don't want to, I don't say that out of joy. Like, I do play my black mage and I do enjoy it, but we're coming to the point where if that DPS difference gets even smaller, who would ever want to run a black mage? You don't have that revive utility, and I think that that's becoming a more and more realistic concern as we are hearing more about this, but we're gonna have to wait and see. But that's just my current thoughts hearing about this. I'd rather see black mage buffed to the level of samurai right now. It's kind of funny because now samurai makes black mage look weak, but I digress. So that's just definitely something to keep in mind. Anyhow, let's talk about the Ishgard Restoration update. And so basically there are a whole volley of things to keep in mind with this one. First of all, that, as I think everyone who's gone into the content knows, this is planned to be updated over the course of several patches, and so no, 5.2 is not the end. It's also designed to be played and enjoyed by both veteran and novice crafters and gatherers, but I think that that was also obvious to people that participated, because I know a lot of people that who never really touched crafting just leveled their stuff all through it. And then the next thing is that the initial goal of patch 5.11 was designed to introduce players to crafting and gathering, and really give a little bit of incentives to participate, so just a trickle feed of what was actually going to happen. But the shift is that patch 5.2 is actually where the high-end content is going to be introduced, and likewise there are going to be a significant amount of updates to a few things here. Next, so initially when I heard Diadem, honestly I was just going to be like Diadem changes and skip over it, but it's actually relevant to Ishgard Restoration. So for gatherers, Diadem is now exclusively for gatherers, and you are going to be able to enter it if you hit level 10 on any of the Disciple of the Land, so that is very good for people looking to level it up, as well as like kind of like crafters could level up with the Ishgard Restoration in 5.11. Now gatherers can, and so I'm actually kind of happy to see Diadem actually be useful. I'm slightly triggered, I'm not gonna lie, but we see that. And then likewise they can earn Skybuilder scripts through their own participation. And then one thing that I found really interesting is that basically they charge up some gauge called a aromatic auger, and that you can use this on creatures in the wild to attain additional items. So yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. Basically I'm assuming that it's just a way to like get mob drops. But further on the line of thought of getting through Ishgard Restoration, kind of like ramping up to be a higher level content, is that now we get expert recipes. There are going to be new collectible items that are going to be added, and that expert recipes can be used to earn even greater rewards from Ishgard Restoration. And that expert recipes are going to have unique statuses to them, where basically the status that you use is going to be really key in maximizing what you can get from it. And next up we have loot boxes. I'm really hoping it's not a loot box system. I'm reading this and I'm really scared. My RNG, for the record, if anyone ever asks, me and RNG don't mix. RNG has really not been in my favor. So let's talk about the Couple of Fortune. Basically, you trade in stuff from Ishgard, and then you receive scratch-off tickets after contributing a certain number of items, and then you can use them to redeem various rewards. I dread this. I'm telling you, I dread this. I hate loot boxes, I hate RNG BS, and this is RNG BS. I'm already wanting to skip this, if I'm being honest, but anyhow, let's continue. So Ishgard Restoration also gets a ranking system that's basically meant to indicate and kind of congratulate those who have contributed a lot to the reconstruction effort, and that there's going to be separate rankings between crafting and gathering, and that basically you earn points for each class when you're contributing those specific items for each of those, and that there are going to be class rankings, and that they are on a 10-day cycle. So basically, first 10 days you get a few players that are on the top next 10 days, different set, potentially. I don't know if you can repeat and get it again, but potentially next one. And then apparently the rewards for if you are one of the top rankers is going to be things like a title and potentially other rewards. I don't know exactly what they are. This is just me trying to understand as much as they did mention kind of the context between the slides. They did mention titles, but no idea on the rest, but there should be other rewards. I believe that they were aiming to. Next up, the crafting system is going to get even more revamped, so just as we were getting used to the current set, let's be ready for more incoming changes, so prepare for the Great Hotbar Purge version 2. So actions are going to be adjusted. There is actually going to be a really nice quality of life thing, which is basically a feature to estimate the effects of your next action. So for me personally, I like this because, you know, I hate making mistakes. I really hate it, so this is a blessing to me. And then another thing is that they also want it to be easier to desynthesize stacked items, and so I'm hoping that it's just kind of like how Eureka Pagos, you originally would have to like change one crystal at a time, that you could change multiple crystals at a time. So I'm hoping that it's a quality of life change like that. And then the party requirement for crafting, company crafting, is going to be removed, so I'm kind of happy for the people that are into that. To me personally, that just means I'm going to see less spam for it. But hey, quality of life is always good. And then finally, they are mentioning that there is something like, so like a lot of people have a training dummy outside their house that lets them like practice their combat rotations, and they're mentioning something that is like a training dummy for crafting, and so that could be really useful for a lot of crafters, so keep your eyes out for that one for sure. Next up, let's talk about Blue Mage of Gathering, also known as Fissure. So basically it's going to be a ton of updates for them, where basically there's some modifications to Fissure actions, like Patience, Precision, Hook Set, Powerful Hook Set have different levels. Fish tugging animations are going to be made easier to distinguish, so there's different types of tugs that you can get that help you differentiate a little bit between the fish, and so that's going to be interesting. And then they're also going to add in a like all-purpose lure, and oh my gosh, I wish I had this years ago, because one thing, if you aren't really into fishing, is that some lures are only useful for some fish, and especially if you're leveling, it was, at least in my experience, a major pain, because you'd have to fiddle with this type of lure, then some of that, and the inventory management was crazy. And now there's a little bit of changes to the materia system, so basically when you're creating a materia, you're no longer going to lose equipment. I'm going to have to see how that's going to pan out, because as far as I know right now, you exchange a piece of equipment for a materia, so does this mean you can use it multiple times? But that doesn't make sense, because that would be an infinite loop. We'll have to see. And then crafter class requirements for affixing materia is going to be removed, making it really tempting to have not leveled all my crafters. I'm not going to lie, but we'll see. But any crafter can affix materia provided that you meet the level requirements, so really convenient for people who only want one crafter, which is a nice shift, but at the same point in time, that would have saved a lot of time if I just skipped that. And then Fissures actually get a little bit more, which is going to be Fissure exclusive content called ocean fishing. You board a ship at a specified time, and then you can enjoy fishing on the high seas. I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty sure that's going to be beautiful, as is most things in this game, but not quite my thing. But I'm sure that fishers or fisher enthusiasts are going to be very happy. But like, they were mentioning that this is just going to be something that is going to be updated over time, and like really see just how it goes, and like they're going to really try and make this a worthwhile thing. And so who knows, maybe even I'll get back into fishing. Doubtful, very doubtful, but we'll see. Now, in terms of miscellaneous updates, we have a new elegant tombstone as expected with the patch 3.2 with the raid cycle. We have additional new game plus chapters as expected with the past stuff. And then, interestingly, and this is going to be a big one, I want to know the full ramifications of it, is that there's a rank increase for free companies. And then they are looking at actually adding umbrellas, and so, I mean, glamour is the true end game, isn't it? So we'll have to see how that pans out. I hope that I can get like some glowy like Hades umbrella or something. We'll have to see. I'm potentially fearful of this. Like, I can already imagine like a hrothgar in the full like 2B suit with like a pink frilled umbrella, like one of those frilled lacy ones. Oh god. The glamour opportunities. Actually, a quick chime in from me during editing. I actually forgot a very important thing. So we have the Relic Quest line for the combat classes, which is something that is kind of like a staple now for each expansion. But what we're also getting is Sky Steel tools, which are basically like primary tools that are gonna be like, how to say it, they're like the crafter equivalent or gatherer equivalent to the upgradable weapons, the relic weapons. And so that's gonna be really cool, and I am actually super excited for this. Anyhow, back to editing. Sorry about that. And with all that said, it has somehow gone over 20 minutes. There is a lot of content actually coming. Oh my gosh. And we didn't win the best ongoing game award. Please, game awards, please. But I digress. Anyhow, what are all of your thoughts on all of these changes, and are you excited for anything? Personally, I think the thing that has me most excited is finally we're getting the relic weapon for this expansion, and that's in the Hrothgar area. You know where you're gonna find me. Gilgamesh, Hrothgar area. You know where I'm at. Anyhow, let me know what you're thinking and kind of like what is most exciting to you, and I look forward to reading all the comments. Anyhow, that is all. Take care.